Fairfield, we've done it again. We've scored. We've got Threefifty Duo with us today, visiting Fairfield. They're going to be playing, well, they will have played Cafe P by the airing, and they were really marvelous. You should have been there, and I know you were. The place was packed. You spent a lot of money. You bought a lot of CDs. Their new one, by the way, called Collapses, and we'll get into that in a moment. But first, ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce these fine gentlemen. We have Brett Parnell on this end. We have Geremy Schulick on this side. And, I don't know, we were talking about favorite colors, which we decided is?
Blue.
Blue.
For everybody.
For everyone, for every guy on the planet. And favorite animals, but we were, like the word cheetah came up, and I didn't know what to do with that. So, but let's talk about the new album, Threefifty Duo. The new album, Collapses. Now, I'm noticing on here it says Threefifty as opposed to Threefifty Duo. How should I be introducing you these days?
We did actually decide to drop the duo out of our name, although, it's not like we're reprimanding people that still call us that. Just because it sounds, it's a little bit more typical of the classical world to be like, the Brentano quartet or right, exactly. So, and we have a lot of classical roots still in our music, but we think of ourselves a little bit more like a band now than a classical
This is an evolving story with you guys, isn't it? Absolutely. Okay, now, from last we spoke, you had your second album out, and you were kind of touring with that. Now that you have your third album out, what was the lift? What's the difference between this album and the last album sonically? What did you do that was different?
Well, I think the second album was us trying to make in the midst of the second album, we started going this way, and our producer at the time for that album was like, do an acoustic record, do it really well, and then you can branch out from there. Like, make a statement, and then you can start experimenting. But if you're just experimenting all the time, you're kind of haphazard, and you're not really you don't have an identity.
That was the guy you went to for the second one?
That was the second. So for the third one, the gloves came off a little bit. All kinds of electric guitar, steel string, nylon string, lots of effects. And we intentionally went with a good friend of ours to produce this producer named Dave Vaslaki, who's primarily a pop producer, does really top 40 pop stuff. And so it was great to get kind of a different perspective on things, different ways of recording things, different ways of thinking of sounds, like triple tracking things that we had never done before, and just kind of, there's vocals on this, there's violin, there's drums. We got some great musicians that we had sing and play on it. So
we've never been in the studio together. That would have been exactly the same approach. But I think that he's an engineer also, isn't he? Your producer.
Yes.
That's where I lose.
Yeah.
Because I got scared once of engineering because when I was doing live mixing in New Jersey for a couple of bands, I totally destroyed their act. I'm sorry to this day. But what happened was I couldn't deal with the feedback. I couldn't control the feedback. And to this day, I have nightmares. I wake up in the middle of the night, cold sweats. But
live mixing
so I never
is terrifying, though. It's a different beast.
I know.
I can't even fathom mixing something live.
But it also affected my engineering in the studio skills. I would go near the board and go, so many buttons, so many knobs. What do I do?
Yeah.
But that's wonderful. You guys took a different approach with this one, and I hear the word triple tracking, and I go, ooh.
Yeah. That was his idea. We were playing one tune. He's like, well, you know what I would do? He's like, play that again. I just played it again. He's like, play it one more time. Did it again, and he let us hear it. And we're like, yeah, that sounds good.
Wasn't it even more than three? I thought it was like
just three.
It's just three. Okay.
Oh, did you have some? I see what you're saying. Is it
like
possible
the exact
that
same thing that we just
the exact same
played?
thing?
Yeah, kind of like how they do in pop vocals. Like they'll have the singer just sing the same line.
But that's the whole. Yeah, exactly. But
or the Beatles did that. Like I think they just did like two vocal tracks with the same exact line.
Well, no. Yes. Not no. Yes.
Yeah.
Where I was going with this is that these days everybody's using a certain technique. Recently, this is the show about me today. No, Tim Britton. Yay, Tim Britton. Hi, Tim Britton. Johnny Cohen, me, and Eric Herlin got together and we did a little samba version of a song that I had a hit with in the 80s called Slow Boat to China. So we had a lot of fun recording that thing. But Tim likes to record in a way that I didn't do because I like to have a take. I like to have at least one take that's called the prime take. That's a solid take, which means, okay, a lot of punching in or whatever.
Yeah.
Tim comes from another thought, and he's got years of experience on his own of proving that this works also, which is record, and then take the best performances from all of that.
Right.
He did that with my vocal. I was a little skeptical in the beginning. I was like, "Are you sure you're going?" I'm not too cool with this process. But he proved me wrong. He got a lot of performances, got them, strung them together, and it came out to sound like one performance. And that's the thing I'm always looking at, because once you have a performance on there, once you have like all these mixed performances, in my mind, I can kind of hear the difference.
Right.
I can hear, like, whether it be different dynamics, whether it be different moods that get projected into the performance.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I'm like, well, that's how everybody records now. Everybody records with do a dozen, half dozen to a dozen takes, and we'll pick the best out of all that.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm starting to get sold over into that. I'm starting to get sold on that. But on the other hand, I still feel there's something in me that still feels like there's a value to having the performer hear and understand that they're punching into a particular. It's a continuance of a thought, a good thought that they first come up with. And it's like, okay, where do you want to take that? It's almost like for me, that type of recording process is almost like, okay, this is somewhat improv. Where are you going with this? Right. As opposed to anyway. Now that I've said that 7 times, I just did you enjoy the experience in the studio?
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
I love recording. I absolutely love it. It's really fun. It's incredibly challenging. It's a completely different skill set than performing live. So
yeah, that's my favorite thing too, actually. But you guys do perform live a lot.
Yeah.
As much as we can.
And much as you can, and mainly in New York.
It's interesting. We go in kind of bursts in New York. Last year we were in Europe and the UK. And we kind of pick an area and we hit that, like we'll go, we're going to Fairfield. Let's do like 6 shows there. Let's go, down to North Carolina. And we have kind of a few spots that we do. New York's been a little quieter recently just because we're getting ready for the CD release and we want to have a big impact on something. Yeah. So, make a really nice concert out of it.
Though we actually did get offered something kind of spur of the moment that we're super excited about in New York, which is, this new festival. It just premiered last year. It's called Crossing Brooklyn Ferry. Oh, and cool. It's at BAM, the Brooklyn Academy of Music. And it's curated by 2 of our favorite musicians on the planet, basically, who are Bryce and Aaron Desner of the National. They've been curating this amazing music festival there, and I think they just had a last-minute cancellation. They just asked us to play a set.
What kind of fest? How long is the set, by the way?
I think it's just a half an hour.
Half hour.
Yeah.
Where is it held?
At BAM, at Brooklyn Academy of Music. They have 3 different venues there. There's the BAM Cafe,
the
BAM Cinema, and then there's the Opera House, which is
we're playing in the cinema.
So they're having multiple shows going on at this.
The Roots and Solange and TV on the Radio
are the headliners.
Oh, TV on the Radio, nice. What is going on? Let's examine the Brooklyn scene. The Brooklyn scene is pretty wild these days. I would say it's even more exciting than New York. Manhattan. You kind of have to differentiate.
Yeah. No. Very few artists can live in Manhattan at this point, I feel like.
But I mean, it almost is like we have a bit of a hi Fairfield. Don't we have a bit of a musical community here that's all supportive and they all know each other and they're all playing? It's on a tiny, it's like a minuscule scale compared to what's going on in Brooklyn, because you have literally hundreds of artists there. But how did this all come about? Can you explain the Brooklyn scene at this point?
We can try. It's tough because, like you said, there's just infinite amount of musicians. Within each, I feel like there are pockets of communities, which I really like. It's like I know bands that I like, and I try to go out and support them. Vice versa when we play. And it's the kind of thing where you'll go see a friend play in some venue and it's great and everything, and then someone you didn't know goes on after them and they're fantastic, or they're awful. It's just it's kind of a hit or miss scene, but it's daunting and exciting at the same time. There's always a top level musician getting ready to play somewhere, and I get excited about that. But I can see it can be very frustrating because you can play, you can play in a venue, you can have a great turnout, you can do the exact same promotion, the exact same thing on the exact same night of the week. and no one comes out. You know, it's just
It's very unpredictable.
Yeah.
What is the goal? What is the goal then? Do you guys live in Brooklyn still? Okay, fine. What is the goal? I don't even know these days what the goal is, because is the goal to get signed by a major label, as we've talked about, or is it? What is the goal these days? And who is organizing? It seems like Brooklyn needs to be organized. We've talked about that in Fairfield, like, hey, let's get all the musicians together. Let's sort of like, not so much unionize, although that concept to pay the musicians, it almost seems like it's needed. But in Brooklyn, it seems like you have so much talent over there that somebody stepping in with the right vehicle would be able to promote Brooklyn in a way that Minneapolis and Austin and all of these music cities have happened. It isn't New York, and that's a good thing, because New York has this this identity to it that's almost, snotty. But Brooklyn doesn't. It's like it's a different kind of thing. And when I say New York, what do I mean? I mean Manhattan.
Right.
So what is it what is the goal as a Brooklyn musician? What do you view as sort of like the thing that you're going for, or stabilizing? What is it?
Personally, or just as a
musical? I don't mean in life. If you want to go there, that's fine. But I mean just musically, yeah.
Fire away.
I don't know. If someone has the answer to that, I'd like to talk to them.
Do you have a theory? Do you have a theory? How about a goal for Threefifty?
A goal for us, I suppose, just to keep playing shows and getting more people to dig our music, and keep putting out albums. It's just I'd just basically like to be doing what we're doing on a larger scale. I'd like to be playing more. That's pretty much it. I don't know.
But it doesn't seem. But is what I'm trying to pull out, and it's kind of a goofy kind of way to go, I guess, is that I'm just trying to figure out what making it, quote unquote, is these days, or if anybody even cares about that. Maybe the whole deal is I just want to live in a community where there's a lot of creativity, there are a lot of musicians that can always be playing, and I have a way to support myself. Maybe that's really it now.
Yeah.
And that's healthy. To me, that's the healthiest thing in the world.
I would personally be happy if we were just able to, able to
Jay, that was Jay. We all look that way. It's like, that was Jason Strong. Ladies and gentlemen, Jason Strong. Giving us the halfway mark here. Sorry.
Yeah, if we were just able to support ourselves more by, touring and playing shows more often, then I'd be happy,
I think that it's such a chance. Like when I think of the amount of people I know that are talented, just incredibly talented, who work 9 to 5s, and just like can't stand their job, and they're incredible musicians, but they're not making it, So I feel like for the goal to be like, I'm going to get signed to a label, or I'm going to, tour, all this time, or I'm going to do this, I think is a little unhealthy. So you want to have, for me, this is definitely for me personally, I want to, and I've said this before, I just want to, at the end of the day, look at what we did and be proud of it musically. And the fact, if I can do that and be in a community of people that's supportive and friends that I love and people I want to spend time with, that's an amazing life, Nice. So that's my own personal thing.
Speaking of people you love, I'm a sucker for family. I really am. As I live vicariously through everybody else and their family units or whatever histories. Your brother is on this record,
right?
And also, the last time you were here, you played that song that was for your brother,
right?
First of all, he's on this album.
Yeah, he sings on one track, actually. Yeah.
He sings. He sings the lead. He sings lead on.
It's actually the way we do it. It's all oohs and ahs and everything. We have like 3 people singing on that track, and it's me and my brother and my girlfriend. My girlfriend sings on the last track as well. So it was really exciting actually to have him on there and her as well.
And I imagine you're all pals.
Sure. Yeah.
Even though you're not. What is the deal with? You made music with your brother, obviously, for years and years.
Still do, actually.
Still do.
Yeah.
Does that approach affect what you bring into Threefifty?
Absolutely. And I think for the better. I think that one of the departures that we took was very early on because I needed a delay pedal for playing in this band. And that was it. And I was just like, I got this one delay pedal for doing this, and I started playing around with it. And I was like, I like that, and started getting different ideas and thinking of different textures. And my brother's a songwriter. That's like his incredible songwriter, and so it became a little less about what I do physically on the guitar and more about writing just a good song. Something that people can connect to, whether you play guitar, whether it's got guitar in it. And I always say that, like, I'd love to do a track or two on the next record that I don't play on. That it's just other instruments and just a good song. So I definitely think playing with my brother affects my playing, and I believe in a really good way.
Who mentored who?
He taught me how to play when I was 13 years old.
Oh, there you go. How old is he?
He is 2 years older than me. So he was 15, I was 13, and he's the coolest guy in the world. So I wanted to play guitar just like him, and I failed miserably. I was awful for like a year. I could not like I was bad, like I couldn't play a note. It was so bad. But he stuck with me, and then he taught me the bass line, the Crazy Train. And then it was smooth sailing from then on. That was it.
What do you think of all this?
I've heard these stories many times.
The cool thing about what you just said is that you're 2 years apart, and you looked up to him as sort of like this big brother figure. Normally, when kids are 2 years or 1 year apart, whatever, they don't do that. They normally are very competitive.
I know. I
love that.
We were great. I mean, we played sports together growing up. He taught me guitar and everything. We were very, very close. And I think part of that is we grew up in the middle of nowhere. Our parents were incredible, and so it was a very close family from the get-go.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in North Carolina, in the boonies, and it's the greatest place on earth.
Nice. What was the name of the town?
Philadelphus.
Philadelphus. I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's more of a fire district than a town, but it's awesome.
Nice. It's more than a fire district than a town. Nice. Jeremy, come on. We got to get you in the mix now too. A little history. We got some history here. Go back. What town do you come from?
I come from Brattleboro, Vermont.
Okay. How'd you guys meet? I think we went over this last time we interviewed, but.
Yeah, we went to the Yale School of Music together.
Cool.
Got our master's there.
Yeah, you started playing guitar. You started playing guitar around the same time, though. Like, you're like 14, 15?
Yeah, we have very similar backgrounds. I think that's what initially made us become pretty quick friends. We just both started playing rock when we were early teenagers and gradually fell in love with classical guitar and went to school for that. And at the time, we were both obsessed with Bach and would completely nerd out on that.
Where did that come from? I mean, all of a sudden, it's an all of a sudden thing. You're learning Crazy Train.
I attribute it to Randy Rhoads. Randy Rhoads loved classical guitar. So I think that I was like, maybe I should get into this. And when I turned 18, I heard a Best of Bach tape with John Williams playing, and I swore it was 2 guitars. I swore it was
Williams.
John
Williams. John Williams playing Vivaldi was one of my favorite things.
Fantastic. His Vivaldi record, our teacher's on. They play together on.
Oh, is that right?
Ben Berger played for the concerto for 2 mandolins that they do on guitar. It's our teacher.
I'm getting goosebumps.
That's fantastic.
I love John. I do. And John Williams, I remember at the time, I'm a little bit older than you guys. I had at the time, we're talking about the 70s, as if people were alive then, right? I remember coming across, there was an album he put out, and it was a song that they used in commercials or whatever at the time. And I didn't make any kind of judgment on that. I didn't care. I just heard the piece. And then I heard John Williams' variation of it. It was the Vivaldi, I'm going to remember by the end of the show when the camera stops rolling here. But I was sold. I heard that and I was like, I've got to know. It's sort of like The Jerk with Steve Martin. It's like, this is out there. I wonder what else is out there when he hears Muzak. But I heard that piece and I went, I didn't so much feel like I needed to learn how to play it, but it opened up it opened up an appreciation for, maybe it was the Vivaldi piece and maybe it was John Williams playing, but it opened up my appreciation for classical music because I had not been exposed to it. I was singer-songwriter and rock and classic rock and, well, now classic rock was then it was rock. Yeah. So I was really surprised by my falling in love with that. And jazz had sort of started to creep into my lexicon too. But classical, there was something about it where it was so foreboding. It was so, oh my God, it's so much of it, and there's so much history, and I can't possibly learn. So I started like small, and I learned a little bit this way, and then I expanded out to the other composers. And that's what you guys got in school, I'm imagining, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, who are some of your favorite composers in classical?
Oh man.
We're both Baroque nerds, so in
too,
addition to Vivaldi is we always say he writes the same concerto like
But it's so
Perhaps.
20 times. But
Scarlatti is the
I
same
never
thing.
get sick of it. Yeah, Scarlatti writes
The same
exact
keyboard
same
sonata.
form, exact same.
But it's so good.
Yeah, it's the same instrument. I don't think he wrote another. I mean, he might have written a few things here and there, but he wrote like 755 sonatas for the harpsichord that all had the exact same form and have the same progressions at the end and everything. But I never get sick of it.
I want to throw this out to you guys. Now, you went to you studied classical music in school.
Right.
That was sort of the paradigm. Even though you played other musics, all that. I had a guest on my show, Werner Elker, who schooled me in the tradition of classical music, as in, he taught me that in the day when composers were coming up with this stuff, they would have their composition that they would write out, that they would have the music, the sheet music for, the charting, but they would not, when they played the piece, people weren't coming to those performances expecting the exact what was written on on paper performances. They wanted improvisations.
Oh yeah.
This was something I didn't know. I never got exposed to the concept, and I think that's because maybe all of the teachers that I had were so. They didn't want the students really to start straying into thinking, oh, you can improvise. They wanted them to learn the piece first.
Right.
And then maybe that would have come into the conversation down the pike, but it never did. And I feel like I lost out on a very important piece of learning classical music because of that. When you guys learned your classical pieces, was it encouraged to take this and make it your own? Or was it encouraged, or maybe was it a two-step process? Learn this exactly the way it is, then take it and make it your, you can improv a little on it. What was the mindset at that school?
Well, yeah, it's true. In the Baroque, I think improvisation was pretty common. We actually, I mean, we weren't really taught to improvise over those kinds of pieces, but we definitely were encouraged to make them our own. I mean, our teacher is someone who we still look up to tremendously, and I think mainly for that reason, because he was just amazing at bringing more of you out of yourself, really.
He wasn't interested in making Ben clones. Like
Right.
you hear some teachers and it's just like every student they produce sounds exactly like them, and Ben wasn't into that. Ben was like kind of pushing you to bring your own ideas out. And the best thing that I always thought he would say, he's like, I know what you want to come out, and you think you're doing it, but you're not. He's like, and this is what you need to do, and he was amazing at it, and I would get done, and I'd be like, oh my God, that's right. So he knew, when I was in school, he knew what I wanted to play more than I did, I think. Nice.
You know what's interesting in the musician's world is and I think if this can be applied to like every adolescent, this is not a judgment, this is just a suggestion, where it's a surrender. You have to surrender to the teacher. You have to trust, you have to trust that the teacher knows what they're talking about, and then you kind of follow through with it, and then it's like, oh, okay, that guy. And it's hard because at that period of your life, you're going through separation. Other people call it rebellion. Oh, rebellious youth.
Yeah.
But really, all it is it's nature's way of like letting you separate from your parents, making you separate from quote authority unquote, so that you can get your own sort of personality.
Right.
Pick your own partners, that type of thing. And I think but one of the things that happens out of that is I have found that there's a stubbornness that has happened where it's a resistance to mentoring sometimes. It's a resistance. And I feel like in the music field especially, it's subverted. That process, the separation process gives way to, or is in addition to, listening to a mentor, really taking on what they're talking about.
Right.
And I mean, and you look at the tradition, you look at culture, and cultures have had the master-apprentice thing going on for how many thousands of years, and yet suddenly in the 21st century, in the 20th century, it's no good anymore. We don't do that anymore. And I think this is part of the process, and I think that's part of the whole becoming an adult. It's like being able to jump into that, but it's a surrender. I think it has a lot to do with the surrender.
And you could see, I definitely in school saw people who fought that, and they were like, no, they wouldn't take advice. They weren't ready for the mentoring, which blew my mind. I was like, you're paying a lot of money to come here and not listen to somebody.
Exactly. Yeah.
But and I honestly don't think they progressed as fast. And I think it's like trying to make their own statement, and they think they couldn't do that while kind of listening and really following this mentorship. But I don't think the two are mutually exclusive. I think that through going through that, you can really start to find your own voice, and I think that was the trick.
That's the point. That's the point. That's the point. It's sort of like,
Right.
it's sort of like, well, you know what? Someone's lived on the earth maybe 30, 40 more years than you. Like, you gotta know a little something. Well, one or two things. If you can take on that knowledge and then apply it to how you're separating, as opposed to just the concept of separation.
Right.
That's how I think it works. How did you guys, did you have the same experience where it was sort of like in the beginning it was maybe a little disorienting and then finally there was this surrender and then there was progress that was made?
Well, I kind of knew going in that I knew he was the teacher I wanted to study with.
Same here.
Beforehand. I had had a couple master classes with him before, and he just I just adored his playing. I listened to his albums constantly. So, but yeah, what I really admired about him was that he wasn't really trying to get us to sound like him. And I was going to say that what we were talking about before and everything. It is a lot of responsibility that's put into the teacher that way too, because especially there are a lot of people that really do just blindly follow whatever they'll say, and like we said, maybe they should, but it also is the teacher's responsibility to not just like spoon feed them things.
But on the part of the student, I don't see that as like a surrender or a complete surrender, so that they're like giving away whatever their personality is. I look at that as kind of I look at it as kind of lazy.
Yeah, right.
It's sort of like, okay, I'll do what that whole thing, and it's almost as extreme as not listening
Absolutely.
to what the teacher is saying, or to paying a lot of money and then not listening to what the teacher is saying. What's happening with 350's somewhat immediate future? You have a CD release party. Let's get to this, by the way. Collapses. 350, and you're going to be seeing some footage from their performance over at Cafe P when they performed when they were in town. It was an incredible show. Hope you were there. What's the touring going to be like? What's the future?
Well, I told you about that show at BAM that we're really excited about. Then we're coming back here for Fairfest, actually.
For Fairfest?
We're really excited about.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
That should be
that's
an
like
awesome
in a week,
time.
right? So we'll see. Get you back here again. Yeah. It'll be the regular. You'll have a show here at a certain point. What are your favorite pieces on here? Like when you heard them. Let me rephrase that. When you heard them back, which ones were you most surprised by? And it's like, oh wow.
I still don't really know what that means. That hear them back. They're still so fresh. Like we've listened to them hundreds, probably thousands of times at this point. So
I'd say the one that came out when we
from
were
beginning
so
to
happy with. For me, I would think the two would be. For me, it was Odd Numbers Lead You West. I was really happy with, and Alone with People came out.
Really?
And Wide Asleep. I think those are ones that I think because they had more people on them, they're not the way we do them live necessarily. That it was just like, wow, man, that violin sounds good.
You Make Me Not Want to Leave actually is also another one.
Yeah.
There are a lot of tracks that have some guest musicians on them, and for us, I don't know if other people will perceive it the same way, but for us, it just feels a lot more special because we're just we're so used to playing these tunes a certain way, just the two of us, and using these loops and stuff to make these other parts going on. But when we actually have live musicians playing these different parts, it really now it's hard to play live a little bit now because we have these idealized versions of these songs that we can't quite duplicate that way live. But
well, that's why this exists.
Yeah. Exactly.
What is this? It's Collapses by 350. I just also wanted to throw out there, we spoke about, I guess, Joni, Joni, and we also spoke about Dave, but you have Evan Mitchell on here on drums.
Yeah.
You have Andy Springer on
Springer.
Violin, and Jennifer Stock on electronics, I guess, helping with the loops and stuff.
That's my wife, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. There you go. So all fantastic, too. Just really, everybody that was on it was just far exceeded even what I expected to come out, and it was really exciting.
All right. We have been speaking with Brett Parnell and Geremy Schulick of 350, no longer 350 Duo. I'm really happy. I love when you guys come to town, and especially come on my show. But I really, when you were here the first time around and you did the musical segment, I was so impressed. And then of course I saw you play live, and I was really, really impressed. It really touches me. The interesting thing, I want to go back to one thing that we talked about earlier, but the Baroque improvising in Baroque. is even more difficult than you would think because everything is so, it's not linear. I mean, it's not a horizontal read. It's really a vertical read with a lot of that because everybody's relying on the notes you're playing. So whatever you're doing is like, it's awesome.
Yeah. I can't I can't do it.
I could if I wanted to. I just don't, because I don't, I just don't want to. That's all right.
It's too easy.
Too easy.
All right, definitely come on back to the show. And
Thanks, Mike.
I really, really love
you.
This stuff, and I'll see you at Fairfest. Hopefully, Fairfest won't have happened before the show airs. But yeah, definitely come back. All the best with, once again, Collapses by Threefifty. By the way, can they buy this online?
Not yet. It's not on iTunes yet. We just picked it up on our way over here, literally. So it'll be online soon, hopefully, though.
Okay, I'm not sure I can say the word buy. What I meant to say is, can they look at a pretty picture of it online
They can.
anywhere?
There will be pretty
On our
pictures on
website.
iTunes eventually, but just not yet.
All right. All right, everybody hang in there because we have a performance. We're going to skip the Skype today. And we're going to have a little something from Threefifty. Again, all the best, and thanks again for coming
Thanks so
on.
much.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you guys so much for coming out. This is awesome. This is our second time in Fairfield. Second of many, hopefully. So the first one, we're going to do 2 sets for you guys today. The first one that we just did, that song was called Drive. The next one we're going to do is our absolute newest tune. It's only been completed for a couple weeks. And I wrote this one at a time when I was going through a very normal questioning everything I'm doing with my life moment. And I was like, really torn up, and I ended up going to bed that night, and I had a dream. And in that dream, Brett from the future came riding up on a horse. And he looks at me and he goes, "You're going the right way." And then he rode off. So I took it as hopefully a good sign. I hope he was right. And so the name of this piece is You're Going the Right Way.
Yes, thank you so much for coming out, everybody. It's great to see all of these friendly faces. This one is called 29. I wrote it for my wife on her 29th birthday. This one is called The Way Day Collapses. It's the title track off of our latest album, which we actually just picked up on the way over here, literally. You know, the disc maker's plant in New Jersey, that's our favorite stop on the way touring. And our tradition, actually, I don't know how many of you would approve of this, but our tradition, I can't believe I'm actually dancing. In front of my dad, no less, who is the greatest health food freak on the planet. Our tradition is to go to Wendy's in New Jersey when we pick up a new CD. We've done that 3 times, so this is our 3rd CD. Anyway, this is called The Way Day Collapses. The title is taken from a line of poetry by Vicky Kennelly Stock.
You just got 7 at Wendy's, right?
play a little solo for you guys. This one is a piece by J.S. Bach, the only one that we haven't written on the piano. It is from his first cello suite, and it is the jig movement. So you might hear a little Irish influence in there. I enjoy playing it, so hope you enjoy it too.